Playoffs? Playoffs?
Jamie G, I've heard that thing where they called 6 white horses when they come, but in Buffalo, they drink 12 horses when they tailgate. Probably some Labatt, be it blue, Labatt Blue Light, some Jenny Light, some Southern Tier. They have all the fun. In this week, the Buffalo Bills had some fun against the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though it was a day later than expected. And this is the Mafia Minute, and we are like Ja Rule featuring Ashanti because we are always on time. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, on social media at Seize the Gap FF because we are presented by Seize the Gap Fantasy Football. Don't forget that, and please don't forget the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. All we ask, if you had fun, remember to click that thumb. Helps bring more people to the big tent that is the Bills Mafia. All are welcome as long as you love the Buffalo Bills. Jamie G, I think you're probably loving life right now, and of course, the Buffalo Bills.
I am Jamie G. Esquire, the fifth proud member of the Bills Mafia, and I couldn't be happier and more proud of the Bills and honestly the entire Western New York area, all the fans, everyone that was involved in making this game happen, the players for going out there and executing, the fans for creating one of the best, most iconic scenes in all of sports. With just snow flying up in the air and place going wild, just an absolute incredible scene. And at the end of the day, the Bills won. They won a wild card matchup, which they should have won. We hoped they would. We thought they would. They did. They went out there and they got a W, and they're advancing in the playoffs, and they get another home one next week against the Kansas City Chiefs. But this time they come to Buffalo. What a time to be a Bills fan, Mills. A lot of exciting stuff going on. But let's break down this game against Pittsburgh. This wasn't, we got off to a fast start, 21-0, looking to be 24-0, and then we get the field goal block. This, to me, is just an inexcusable play. Special teams is an area of concern right now, given, on this play, Sam Martin, pulls his hamstring. That's terrible. Bass, I mean, this is completely on him. You cannot. A blocked field goal to me is almost, not quite, but almost as egregious as a onside kick, allowing an onside kick. Like, it should never happen. He kicked it way too low, trying to get the distance. He should be kicking in this cold all week long. No excuse for it. They hit a 47-yarder. We get a 49-yarder block. Totally disappointed by that. And that was a big change in the game here, and allowed the Steelers a little bit of motivation. They, momentum. They go down the field and get the touchdown, make it 21-7, go into the half. Mills, not only that, but Bass missed a field goal late in the game here on one of the ugliest field goal attempts I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a combinational thing here that I'm slightly worried about with the Sam Martin, who's been on an absolute tear punting the football with this hamstring injury, and then Bass a little bit shaky at home. Outside of that, Mills.
Well, isn't Martin even the holder, right? So he's the holder for the basket. So losing him screws up both parts of that. It screws up both parts of your special teams there. So that's a big deal. You do not want to sell that short. You can't leave any points on the board against Kansas City.
Right. It's an absolutely big deal. We need to get, some good news coming out of One Bills Drive this week regarding injuries. The other concern, and I want to start with the bad, and then we'll wrap this with the good. The other concern is the injuries. And as Pittsburgh started to claw their way back into this game, I think you saw, make no mistake, that's a good football team. It's a well-coached team. Their defense is really good. They've been holding teams to no points in the second half. Really proud of how the Bills responded when they needed an answer. They had it, but you saw them start to claw back in. And I really think that's just direct correlation with the injuries. The Bills went into this game banged up, down 2-3 starters, that are missing in this game on the defensive side of the ball, and then of course Gabe Davis on the offensive side of the ball. They lose both starting linebackers. Terrell Bernard goes down with what looked to be a nasty ankle injury. Initial reports are it looks like a sprain. Hopefully those x-rays came back good. More to come on that. We're filming this literally fresh off the game. Balin Spector, who is subbing in for Terrell Dodson, who's subbing in for Matt Milano, gets out of there with a back. You get, Christian Benford early in the game forces that fumble, which I still don't know what the hell happened on that play where they just Freiermuth clearly fumbled the football. It clearly was in bounds. It never went out of bounds, and we clearly recovered it. But anyway, I don't think anybody can explain that play, but that's fine. But he goes out. Benford goes out with a knee. That's really scary considering we're already down Rasul Douglas. We're forced to play Kiara Alam, who has not played well throughout his short career. Then, last but not least, a final dagger to the Bills defense. We lose Taron Johnson, who's an absolute stud, just a guy that you cannot replace on that defense in terms of what he does playing this quasi nickel, quasi linebacker role. It's all over the field, super smart, just key cog in that defense. So those are 4 starters, and I think you started to see them attack it and be able to put some points on. But credit, Mills, credit the Bills defense for doing what they had to do. Credit the Bills offense for responding every time they needed to. Steelers would go down. They never relinquished. They had that 14-point lead. They were in control of this game the entire game, never relinquished it. But even when the Steelers would score, try to make it a 1-score game, boom, Bills come right down the field and score again. So they just kept putting the dagger in their heart, and I really appreciate that with the Bills, and of course led by Josh Allen, who played a phenomenal game. We've seen Josh Allen in the playoffs before. I still have to pinch myself, and I still am in awe of what he does week in and week out. And he's not perfect. He has bad games. Everyone does, but he has played very well throughout his playoff career. And I think even haters of Josh Allen have to recognize he's played pretty well throughout his playoff career. Today was another good one.
One thing I do want to point out, yeah, Taron Johnson, dude, 2nd team All Pro, right? That's not something to just gloss over. That is a big deal. So losing him out there was huge. And, shout out AJ Klein. You wouldn't expect it, but he did have 10 total tackles, 7 solos. So, another dude off the couch. I guess that's a new thing, right? You're getting guys off the couch just coming in there. And Dorian Williams, that's the rookie linebacker, right? Also got some burn
3rd
out
round
there.
pick.
Yeah, so this is the time now. This is kind of what might have to happen here. It's next man up in the playoffs. So it's important that these guys got the job done down the stretch, even if it wasn't pretty. There were a couple missed tackles. The Steelers did get some points in the second half, but I think it's important that some of these guys got out there when the live bullets were flying, and I think that could potentially be helpful in the divisional round if you're going to need him to take meaningful snaps. It's nice that Josh Allen had a big game, but it's almost more important that some of these other guys then, got their beaks wet, got their feet wet, whatever, I think.
Yeah, I think Klein's going to have to play. Best case scenario is Bernard's out for a game or two, and you get him back if you make it to the Super Bowl. So I don't think, I would be really surprised to see him playing, this coming up week against Kansas City in the divisional round. You never know. We saw Sam Laporta come back from a hyperextended knee. Didn't look like he played at all. He played, scored the touchdown. We'll see if Bernard can come back that quickly. I'm not sure. So I think Klein is going to get some meaningful snaps here down the stretch, and we'll just have to see where guys are. The one thing that the Bills have done this season, basically the entire season, has had to adjust and deal with and persevere through just an unbelievable amount of injuries this year on the defensive side of the ball specifically. I mean, it's just been unbelievable. It seems like we can't go through a game without losing 2-3 defenders. It's just uncanny.
Yeah, it was a procession tonight. It was almost like the Monty Python, bring out your dead kind of thing. It just kept going and going and going, and not in a good Energizer battery kind of way. So yeah, that was no fun. But overall, you still have to be pretty impressed with what the defense did. They tried to get some pressure on there. It did seem like Greg Rousseau had a pretty good game. Ed Oliver had a pretty good game. I think you like what the front gave you. He didn't show up in the box score, but I did see Von Miller out there for a few snaps, right? He got a little bit of pressure. So, that's what you're going to have to lean on, especially if the linebacker core is, banged up. You're going to need that front four to get the job done.
Again, you cannot say enough about Daquan Jones, number 92 of the Buffalo Bills. The guy is an absolute stud. Had the pec injury way back week 5 against Jacksonville. Torres pec came back a couple weeks ago. You start to see those sea legs starting to form underneath him. He played an outstanding game of football today. And when you line up him next to Ed Oliver and you put those two guys in the middle, that is a really dynamite defensive tackle combination with both of their ability to get after the quarterback there, but also what they can do in the run game. And shout out to Linval Joseph. Mills, he was part of your Eagles squad last year who went on the Super Bowl run, but the dude also came off the couch. Phenomenal run stuffer, been around forever, massive human being, playing meaningful snaps in there in that second rotation with Tim Settle and some of the other guys. So defensive line played well. And again, a lot of people were down on Coach McDermott this year. I think given the situation with the injuries, you got to give him a lot of credit for how he has his defense ready to play each and every week.
You really do, and it does seem nice. It seems like Poyer and Hyde, this might be the best game they played as a duo all season. They finally seem to be back in rhythm out there. Could have had a couple of more interceptions if a couple of bounces had gone a different way and everything. So I thought it was nice to see them kind of peaking at the right time. Leonard Floyd continues to make plays, a lot of good stuff there. Before we move over to offense, just let me ask you, going to your special agent Johnson, is Elam active next week? Like, would you rather they bring somebody up off the practice squad at this point? Because at least they're an unknown. You feel like if Elam's going to be in there, the Chiefs are going to go to work on him, right?
I think he has to be, just because we really don't have anybody else.
I'm
I mean,
talking guy off the street. Would you be willing to, just because it's an unknown at this point? Maybe it could be better. Do you think he's been that bad, or do you still have some hope? Maybe finally, in crunch time, the light bulb comes on, because that would be, you kind of need it almost, right? This is what you spent that first round pick on.
yeah, and it especially hurts because a couple picks after this, the Chiefs drafted Trent McDuffie, who's been an absolute stud at the corner position. The Bills liked Elam because of his size and his physicality, but he just has not clicked. I think you got to roll with him. You spent a first round pick with him. Hopefully, either Benford, and shout out Christian Benford, 7th round pick out of Villanova, who's been absolutely fantastic in that same draft class as Elam. But you spent the pick on him. You got to use him. I think you're better off with that. He knows the system, and I think there's comfort in that for McDermott calling the plays. So I think you got to roll with him at this point. Hopefully, Douglas is back, right? Hopefully, Benford isn't as
you need Douglas being back would be huge. And I mean, at this point, just pretend you took Benford in the first round and Elam in the 7th, and it doesn't feel so bad. Because at this point, it doesn't really matter. You drafted them where you did. All that matters is what they do going forward. And you've already pointed out Josh Allen had a very Josh Allen day, especially rushing the ball. Who's your non-Josh Allen MVP on offense for the Bills?
That's really tough, but I think I'm going to go ahead and give it to James Cook. I think he earned some really hard rushing yards today. Dalton Kincaid was fantastic. You saw, Diggs just do what we needed him to do when his number was called. Dalton Kincaid really shined. Shakir had the huge play, but I got to give it to James Cook. I thought, he ran the ball really well, and when there was opportunity to exploit the Pittsburgh defensive line, he would get 5, 10, 12-yard chunk plays in there. There were plenty of times where it was 2 or 3 yards, but I got to give it to James Cook. I just thought he was a really special again.
Hard to go with anybody else. Diggs did get banged up, but he was very efficient on what he was given, as was Kincaid, as was Shakir. Anybody else in particular stand out for you? I know the offensive line had a couple penalties, but I thought they did a good job overall. And Ty Johnson, right, kind of worked as the second running back. That's a surprise, I think, considering it was Uncle Lenny last week. Latavius Murray was inactive. Here, Murray and Johnson were both up. Murray got targeted a couple times, but it was Johnson who got all of the non-James Cook, Josh Allen carries, for the rushing position.
I really like the way, if you've been watching the Bills, you love the way Ty Johnson runs the football. Every single snap, he gives it 150%. The guy, one cut and go. He's got a little bit of wiggle to him, and we saw it a couple times today, kind of making something out of nothing. But he hits a crease and he goes. And you love how hard he runs the football here. So he's earned it. He's also been really reliable. And he's not a complete dud in the passing game either. They went to him one time on a wheel route. I wasn't there, but he can be effective in that in the passing game too. So I give Ty Johnson a lot of credit. Josh Allen came out, spoke extremely highly about him this past week, saying he always does everything the right way. He gives his everything every single play, and he just doesn't make any mental mistakes. And that's a real good compliment if you're Ty Johnson.
He's a very interesting NFL football player. He's been around to a lot of teams, and that's because he's always offered value on special teams, both in returning kicks and covering kicks. And he's been effective in the receiving game as a running back. You're using him the least way here, the least in that aspect here. But over the course of his career, he's been primarily viewed as like the guy who's just a receiving running back, a third down guy. This is almost the first time since maybe a little bit on the Jets where he's getting a chance to actually rush the ball. So I think that's interesting. And how about your boy Shakira, dude. Shakira. Only three
Yeah.
targets, but caught them all and had a pretty impressive touchdown.
Another game in which he catches 100% of his targets. We saw, I talked about it last week. I talked about it over on our other channel with Seize the Gap Fantasy Football and some of the other things that we do. His yak ability is off the charts. He doesn't always get crazy separation. He doesn't, he's a good route runner. He's in the right spot. He gets downfield. He blocks. He does all the little things right. But the thing that I think makes him special is not only his speed, but his yards after the catch ability, I think, is off the charts. And he showed it. He showed it with the big play. What a special play! And had a huge moment in a game, in the playoffs, in your house, sealed the deal, put the nail in the coffin, and he absolutely did it right there. I mean, just an incredible play, Mills.
I was very impressed. I thought it was both very good, and I was, very happy about my dynasty fantasy football shares of Khalil Shakir going up. Very impressive. I'm very excited about what he can do going forward, whether or not Gabe Davis returns. Jamie G, anything else before we move on to the Mafia moment? Anything else from this big victory other than thank you everybody who shoveled for $20 an hour?
Thank you for everyone who showed up. I mean, I saw pictures last night at 4:30 in the morning when I got up
TikToks
today.
actually, yeah, they were all over. It was impressive.
It didn't look like it was going to get there. How they had that stadium ready to go today is a feat for everyone involved. And Bills Mafia, y'all showed up. I thought there was going to be a lot more Steelers fans in the house, being how close it is. Western New York is to Western PA and Pittsburgh. I think it's only a 3-hour drive or so. So I expected a lot more Steelers fans in the house. They were there, but that baby
I
was
saw a couple towels. I heard a couple moves, but that was about it.
But that was about it, man. I mean, typically that's a team that travels well in terms of their fan base.
Especially
I
regionally,
really
yeah.
appreciate the Bills and Bills Mafia absolutely showing up and just, I'm telling you, is there a better scene in sports, man, when the Bills score, shout songs going, all the fans, you got thousands and thousands of fans, 70,000 maniacs throwing snow in the air. I mean, just an incredible scene. And we love it. We're gonna need it next week. Get rested up, get ready, and let's bring it next week against the Chiefs.
I have to admit, I loved all of the just random throwing the snow in the air. I thought that was very cool. Looked great on camera. And speaking of looking great on camera, Jamie G, I'm going to need your Mafia moment, your favorite play, your favorite moment, what have you, from the wild card round victory over the Steelers. Jamie G, what's your Mafia moment?
Look, there was plenty of good stuff to choose from, but how can I not go with my boy Josh Allen's 52-yard rushing touchdown to go up 21-0? This thing was incredible. Saw a seam, got 20, 30 yards, could have easily just slid. Most people would have, but not Josh Allen. He sees it. He runs through a tackle and then continues to outrun the rest of Pittsburgh's defense. Put the Jets on, baby. 52 yards, second longest in playoff history, behind only Colin Kaepernick 11 years ago today, which was 56 yards. Unbelievable play by Josh Allen. It has to be my Mafia moment.
Jamie G says it's unbelievable. Oh, all right. You know what else is unbelievable? Our Mafia mannequin. He started out as a naked guy. Every time the Buffalo Bills have won a game, we have added something new. He is basically ready to tailgate at this point. He's got himself a pair of Buffalo Bills boxer briefs. You can't see him now because he's got on some Zubaz overalls. He's also got a couple of different socks, a practice sock, a Josh Allen sock. He's got some receiver gloves. He's got a Rolex. He's got a Thurman Thomas jersey. He's got a rope chain. He's got a Buffalo Bills neck tattoo with a nice handlebar mustache, some Bills shades, Bills bucket hat. He's got a table he's going to dive through with some Genesee beer, some Labatt Blue beer, and some Fuck the Refs coffee beans. Jamie G, what can we possibly add here to get more hype for next week's matchup when the Mafia Mannequin is there live as the Bills get ready to take on the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, anybody that was paying attention this week, we know it snowed. I mean, I saw shit from Hammer's lot today. People were building igloos. Bills Mafia, you guys are crazy, jumping off of snow piles into burning tables, threesomes jumping at the same time. It was nuts. But one thing you have to have, because you might need it just to get to your seat, you're definitely going to need it to shovel out your tailgate and in the lots around the stadium, is you got to have a shovel. So we're going to give this dude a Bills shovel. Hopefully we can find one for him that's got the Bills emblem on it or something. If not, maybe we'll throw a sticker on that bad boy for him. But he's going to have a shovel and he'll be ready to go for next week, divisional round, playoff game in Highmark Stadium. I can't wait against Kansas City Chiefs. Give him a shovel, Mills.
Jamie G, you do not want to wait for the playoffs to be over because you want to do it right now on Dawson's Creek featuring Dawson Knox. And before we get out of here, we need to feature your final score prediction from the wild card round. Jamie G, you had the Buffalo Bills triumphing 27-18. And you got it closest you've gotten all year, I think, buddy. You had Buffalo Bills 31, Pittsburgh 17 as the final score. Quite close, off by 4 on the Bills in the right way, off by just 1 on the Steelers side. I think that's pretty excellent. Congratulations. Good prediction.
Appreciate that. I'm just glad that the most important part was getting the win right, and we got that. Go Bills.
Yeah, and even though it moved an entire day from the time we made a prediction, moved to an entirely different day with different weather, and your shit still held up. That's how you know it's good. And hopefully you think that the Mafia Minute is good. We will be back a little bit later this week for our divisional round preview. Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs are coming to town. And I don't know what Jamie G's final score prediction is. I have a feeling he thinks the Bills will win, but you need to make sure that you tune in, check it out. Jamie G, anything else before we get out of here?
Just, man, enjoy this one. Bills fans, we've earned this. This is incredible. Don't take it lightly. This is 4 years in a row we've advanced on the wild card. 4 years in a row we've won the AFC East. That's incredible. You know, I remember what it was like to just dream of making the playoffs. So we're not done yet. Enjoy this one. Enjoy the week. Celebrate. Be proud. And let's get ready to go. We got another huge one next week. Go Bills.
All right, we love it. This has been the Mafia Minute presented by CCGAP Fantasy Football. Again, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, on social media at CCGAPFF. You don't want to forget that. You do not want to forget to just continue to do whatever you've been doing. The Bills have been winning. Whatever you've been doing is important. Keep doing it. Also, don't forget the flaps. Follow, like, and please subscribe. Keep hitting that thumb. It helps us. If you had fun, remember, please give us that thumb. Jamie G, one last Go Bills shout, dealer's choice, final answer. Get everyone hyped to party with the mannequin in the parking lot on Sunday. Go Snow? Are we Go Snow? We House Stark?
You already snow. It's a snow plow, baby. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Go Bills.